I know they would love to put.
Recording stopped.
Let's call the Parks and Environment meeting to order.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Chair Vorse?
I'm here.
Vice Chair Carney?
Here.
Ms. Stoffel?
Here.
Mr. Mylart? Mr. Hudson? Here. Ms. Foney?
Here.
Mr. Newcomb?
Here.
Sir, we have a quorum.
All right. We've got a copy of the minutes. Can we get approval or a motion to approve the minutes, please?
Make a motion?
And a second?
Second.
All right. Got a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Can we get all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right. Resolution to adopt the cities of Fallon's urban forestry.
All right. Yes, sir. So as we talked about last month, I provided you a month to kind of read over this information and come back with any questions and just talk about the urban forestry management plan. As a reminder for those who may be online or maybe weren't here last month, in 2023, we contracted with a company to do a urban forestry management plan and a street tree inventory. So they spent the better part of a year tracking through town, counting trees, assessing the trees, identifying the trees, and we put it all into a document that's now online. So people can go to the website, click on any street tree and get the condition of the tree. The second part of that contract was to do an urban forestry management plan. So staff spent about a year reviewing it with the council or the consultants and going through it. And it's culminated into this plan. And what it is, it's just a way to manage the city's urban forest, tree management, health assessments, codes, and all those types of things. So that's what the urban forestry management plan is. If adopted, we've come up with these 7 steps that to measure it to see if they would be successful. Number 1 would be establish a dedicated urban forester to manage the plan. They would review and align city ordinances. A lot of ordinances would probably need to be updated, or some ordinances anyway, not a lot, but to reference the plan. We'd have to engage local builders and developers to make sure that the developments that they are building have the right trees, that they're not planting trees in the right of ways that are going to become problems down the road. So we would enforce certain species that we want planted, and so on and so forth. We'd really reduce our reliance on outside contractors by continually trimming and managing the trees and training them to grow in the right direction. We would eliminate a lot of the long-term negative effects from incorrect trees. Centralized urban forestry management, so we would have 1 person as opposed to 3. Currently, they might go tree issues go to community development, they go to public works, and they come to us. It's very difficult, and the 3 of us are constantly trying to figure out who's supposed to manage it. So this would be 1 centralized person to manage all of the tree requests that come in, and there are quite a few in our city works. Make no mistake, there's a lot of trees in town that need attention, and a lot of homeowners have questions about trees and can they get cut down, and whose tree is this, and whose responsibility is this? It's between our properties. So there's a lot of those questions that this person would be able to manage and negate, and with a little public education, we could hopefully cut down on some of those as well. Maintain and update a GIS-based inventory. As I said, it's all online, but the problem with having over 5,000 trees online, we have to update it, and we need someone it's already 2 years old, so we already have to spend a great deal of time going in and updating those tree inventories with the trees we've already cut down or trimmed or whatnot. So we would want to make sure that that's up to date. And then, of course, achieve Tree City USA designation and regional leadership. I think a lot of people already come to O'Fallon from other communities or whatever saying, what's O'Fallon do on this situation? So they call us. And so we would want to be that same leader when it comes to urban forestry. Something we're proud of from not only Parks and Rec Department, but I think all departments from the city. So we want to maintain that leadership on urban forestry management. So with that, I'll toss it to you guys to have any questions. If you're okay with it, pass the resolution on to council for full adoption next week.
And I know that we mentioned, number one, there, establish a dedicated urban forestry position. While we are going to propose that in the upcoming budget, you guys will have a chance to review all that as well as the whole entire council. So adopting this plan tonight does not also improve that. That will come back to you guys.
Two separate things.
Two separate things.
Right. All right, any discussion? Questions?
The question I had, you already answered.
All right.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the only question I had was about the Tree City USA. It was in my research of all this, you know, like I saw that pop up a couple times, was looking at the requirements. Number of communities around us are, so I figured like that maybe this was like one of the reasons why, because we didn't officially have the plan. But I would love to see that happen too. So I think this is great. And didn't you say last meeting, or the city, it's $4 million is the cost of all the trees? Was that the number that you gave? The value?
Yeah, it might have been a little bit more than that, but it was in that
Okay.
neighborhood.
That's
Okay.
if you were going to cut them down and use the wood.
But I'm just saying, like, I remember that number. and it's
There's a
like,
value,
That's
yeah.
such an asset that we should care for it as such.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And to piggyback on your Tree City USA, we were a Tree City USA a number of years ago. I think Calvin Beckman, those of you around who knew Calvin, got the designation. Jamie Frank kept it for a little bit, but then it's lapsed. So we need to go and do that process again. And so yeah, that's what we need to do.
You also stated you have to change codes. There's a number of codes. Do you know which codes you're going to have to address?
Yeah, they're in the ordinances. A lot of it has to do with, who's in charge of trees, who makes the say-so on trees, those types of ordinances. And remember the other ones?
Yeah, and I don't mean to keep leading you guys on every time we meet about
Yeah.
the future subdivision and development manual update that we will do next year, but that includes a lot of, and as things get developed and built, what do street trees look like, what type and variety of trees are in there. And that's one thing that we are deficient upon, is somebody that knows enough about, can kind of border that line between public works, community development, and look at plans, and then can actually go out into the field and watch them put these trees in the ground, make sure they're far enough away from the sidewalk, make sure they have their root barriers in. And so this person will effectively become the tree czar in the future. And so this will be a very engaged position, both with the external facing, but also will do a lot in-house as well.
Are we allowed to dictate to these people what kind of trees we want them to
So
put
it's
in
the
there?
right of way, and so we plant the trees in the right of way, and so the developers buy the trees and put them in the right of way, but they're putting the wrong. Some developers are putting the wrong species of trees, and we have listed in the ordinances the trees that we are approved to plant, and so that would be one of the things that we would update is that listing of trees. I think there's a lot of maples in there that we would take out of that and put in other different species of trees. So yes, in the right of way, so that's city property, we can dictate that. And then the public education part of it is we want to educate the public. Don't plant this tree. It's susceptible to this disease. Plant these trees. And then we could even establish different Arbor Day programming that basically does a lot of tree education.
All right, anything else? Council, or rest of public?
Vermal Air Board 3. So you're going to have a tree czar, is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call them a tree czar, but yeah, tongue in cheek, yeah. Tongue in cheek, yeah.
So then, so if I was wanting to plant some trees in my yard, I'd have to check with you to see which ones are compatible with the area?
You wouldn't necessarily, you would not have to check with us, but we would be a resource. So if you wanted to know the best species to plant for your location, we would be a resource.
Okay, so not, you're going to tell me what kind I can choose, what I would like to, whatever.
Yeah, you're always, it's your property, so you
Doesn't
can plant
affect
whatever
private
trees you want.
Okay, all right, thank you much.
All right, can we get a motion?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we get a roll call, please? Oh, yeah.
Chair Vorst,
Yes.
Vice Chair Carney,
Yes.
Ms. Stoffel,
Yes.
Mr. Mylart, Mr. Hudson.
Yes.
Ms. Foney.
Yes.
Mr. Newcomb.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Now the long-awaited community park update.
Yep, this was requested a month or so ago. We were busy last month with a lot of different agenda items, so we brought it back this month in December just to give you a final recap, on the community park. So just real quick, the projects we've done in community park, we started in the summer of 2023 with the All Abilities Playground. It was the cost to the city was a little over $800,000. We did receive some donations, but that was for the All Abilities Playground in the northwest corner of the park. Phase 2 is a multi-use path. It's a 10-foot wide multi-use path that circumvents the park, measures just under 1 mile, and that was a $320,000 cost to the city. We did receive $213,000 in grants for that. And then phase 3 was the O'Fallon Community Park Enhancement Project, which was the pool, the community center, a new parking lot, and a couple other things. And the final bill on that was $19,130,000. And we did receive a $600,000 OSLAD grant and a $100,000 MEPRD grant for that as well. So just a really quick update that we've talked about every meeting for the last 3 years. So, yeah, that's the final bill. So any questions?
I think just as a talking point, it is kind of confusing. And I know that we're pulling all these numbers from, the financial software. And so things get coded. And I know there's notes on here, but for the average person, it looks like we're overspending and not on target with budget. So I don't know if in the future there's a different way we could present the information. It's confusing, I think, a little bit without
Sure.
having to read all the notes. So just.
Yeah, so the problem with that document is we started it really early, and then since it was a first-time document, we didn't want to change it, but that, as time went on, it presented a lot of problems, so we wouldn't do that again. I would find some other way to present it, but it was in for a penny, in for a pound at that point, and if I started changing it, then it would look like we're trying to cheat the system. So it was a flawed document from the beginning that Robin and I worked super hard to try and make sure that it was as best as we could, but, we set on a course we couldn't change.
So that's just information only, and so is 3.2.
3.2 is just the Parks and Rec maintenance reports for November. So just a detailed look from the Superintendent of Recreation and Parks.
With that, we'll open up for public comments.
Appreciate for Ward 1. Just as procedural, you're calling Alderman Mylart. He's not listed as a committee member, and these 6 are, so is he on this committee or is he not?
I believe he's on the
Or is he
committee.
called twice now?
Yeah, he's on the committee.
Okay. He's not listed on the agenda?
Okay.
He's out of town, so.
There we go. I'll take him off.
So
Thank you.
there are 7 members on this committee.
I'm going to say yes. I'd have to count them.
What's online?
Yeah.
And what's been called is not matching, so I'm just checking.
Okay. I'll double check for you and I'll report back next month.
Anyone else? All right, with that, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, all say aye, or, yeah, please say aye. Okay, we are adjourned. Community Development at 6 o'clock.
He's out of town today.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if he's not on the committee at all.
What'd you call him?
I had him there. Oh, yeah. So I'm guessing he's not on the committee anymore. I didn't update it from
All right, I will call the community development meeting to order. My name is Jessica Lotz, and I'm the representative from Ward 2. This is the Community Development Committee. We generally meet on the second and fourth Mondays of each month. Leading us tonight, we have several staff members, including Grant Lidekin, who's our city administrator, and Greg Anderson, who is our director of community development. Looking over the agenda, it looks like we just have one item that's requiring council action, and then after that, we will receive project updates. As a reminder, any votes taken tonight are advisory only. Regardless of what we vote or any changes we make, what will be presented to the council is exactly what's presented to us this evening. Anyone wishing to make comments will have several opportunities to do so. After each item is presented and discussed, I'll ask the committee, and then the council, and then the public if they have any comments that they'd like to make. There's also an opportunity at the end of the meeting for final public comments, and those can be about anything you'd like to tell us. Public comments are welcomed and encouraged. Anyone speaking has 5 minutes to do so. Please state your name and if you are a resident, and please address comments to the council and not to individual staff members or members of the public. And our goal is always to answer questions that are asked tonight, but sometimes questions are asked that we're more comfortable researching them before we provide a final answer, so we're happy to get back with you on those. And with that, we will start with a roll call.
Campbell?
Yes.
Mylart? Parchman?
Here.
Rosenberg?
Present.
Roach?
Here.
And Chair Lotz.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Sounds great. The first item, we'll do approval of the minutes, so 1.3. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any question or discussions on the minutes? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All righty. Our only item requiring action tonight is item 2.1. This is a ordinance regarding a potential new development located at 5634 Old Collinsville Road. So we'll hear from Greg on that.
Thank you. This is item 2.1 on the agenda, which is an ordinance amending Ordinance 623 zoning of the City of O'Fallon for the development known as SAB Enterprises, LLC. The property is located at 5634 Old Collinsville Road. That is parcel ID 03-35.0-100-021. The current zoning for this parcel is B1 Community Business District, and the applicant for this planned use is Joe C. of SAB Enterprises, LLC. The applicant is requesting planned use approval for a 23,641 square foot gymnastics center and swim school, and the rezoning of the parcel from B1 Community Business District to B1P Planned Community Business District to allow for the gymnastics center. Taking a look at the zoning map, the subject property is in the hashed color red. It is B1 Community Business District. As you can see, it is adjacent to an MR1 planned multifamily residential, as well as B1P to the north, planned Community Business District, which currently is where Gateway Elite Gymnastics does lease a building for operations. To the south, the property is the former Centerfield Park. It is Zone B1. And to the east of Centerfield Park is the O'Fallon Golf Range, which is Zone B1P, planned Community Business District. We'll also note that across the street from these properties on Old Collinsville Road, that is the city of Fairview Heights, and this portion of Old Collinsville Road is under the jurisdiction of St. Clair County. Taking a look at the future land use map in our master plan, this is listed as general commercial, and this would be appropriate for this type of proposed business and use. And additionally, looking at the adjacent land uses, we have Gateway Elite Gymnastics to the north, former Centerfield Park, which there has been a change in ownership of the former Centerfield Park, and a demolition permit has been submitted to the city, and so that is currently being demoed. No tentative plans have been announced or applied for at this point. Looking at the zoning, the parcel is Zone B1 Community Business District, and that would be, upon approval, rezoned to B1P Planned Community Business District. This proposed development does comply with the zoning district area and bulk regulations in terms of height, setbacks, lot coverage, etc. And the parcel is currently undeveloped and does not contain any structures. The petitioner is proposing a 23,000 square foot building. This would be a one-story youth swim school and gymnastics center. The swim school would be approximately 5,333 square feet, and the gymnastics center is approximately 18,000 square feet. The building elevations have been met in terms of the commercial design guidelines, and city staff has been working with the petitioner to make those revisions. And the lot coverage for this parcel with the proposed building is 23.4%, where B1 has a max lot coverage of 50%, so this is well under that max lot coverage as well. I'm going to go quickly through the site plan. In the middle of the site plan, you'll see the proposed building. The front portion of the building, closest to Old Collinsville Road to the west, would be the swim school, and the back half of the building to the east would be the 18,000 square foot gymnastics center. There are two means of ingress-egress. There is one located in the northwest portion of the site, which is a shared access along Old Collinsville Road with 5700 Old Collinsville Road, the parcel to the north. So this would be required to obtain a cross-access maintenance agreement. And we did receive feedback at the Planning Commission last week or 2 weeks ago, that there were some concerns about traffic and on-site circulation, and there was a conversation about restricting this access point to entrance only. We did reach out to the engineer and the architect today, and staff is making a recommendation to put a condition that this access point along Old Collinsville Road be entrance only to mitigate any on-site traffic circulation issues that may occur with 5700 Old Collinsville Road. Additionally, there is an access point to the south located in the southwest portion of the site. This would be full access, ingress, egress, and both of these would require cross-access maintenance agreements with the property owners to the north and to the south. In terms of stormwater detention, there are catch basins and inlets which are strategically placed around the site. You'll see located at the front half of the site at Old Collinsville Road, highlighted in blue. There are catch basin and inlets on the southern and western portions of the parking lot that intercept and direct surface flow. These go the perimeter of the property line to the north and to the south, and they drain into the proposed detention pond. The grading plan establishes positive drainage away from the building and adjacent properties, which directs surface flow towards the internal storm sewer system and the detention pond, and the proposed design does address discharge and downstream impacts by detaining runoff into that detention pond and releasing stormwater at a controlled rate through a multi-stage outlet structure. Additionally, the property line to the east does abut multifamily residential, so they would be required to install a landscape buffer along that eastern property line. And lastly, there is a dumpster enclosure located on the northeast portion of the site, and that would be required to be screened by a 6-foot vinyl fence. This is a look at the building elevations of the one-story building. The front half of the building, closest to Old Collinsville Road, would be designated for the swim school, and the larger portion of the building in the back half eastern part of the site would be the gymnastics center. This does meet commercial design guidelines. Metal siding that is being depicted in this is complementary to the masonry and the building materials that are required for the commercial design guidelines of the city. Discussing access and ingress-egress, there are two proposed access points, one through the existing point located on the northwest side of the site from Old Collinsville Road. This is a shared dual access to 5634 Old Collinsville Road, and staff does recommend restricting this access point to entrance only for traffic to 5700. This could be done in a number of ways, whether it be a curb bump out or one-way directional signage. Do not enter signs on the internal portion of the site at 5634. The other access point is located on the southwest side of the site through Centerfield Park, the Centerfield property to the south. Both of these access points would be required to obtain a cross-access maintenance agreement with the property owners as a condition of approval to move forward. In terms of traffic, this portion of Old Collinsville Road does fall within jurisdiction of St. Clair County. There was a proposed project that came back to City Council or the Planning Commission back in 2022. This was the barn. The barn was a much higher intensity in proposed use, whereas the barn was proposing a 50,000 square foot building and 500 parking spaces. This project
as it is proposed today, is a 23,000 square foot building with 117 parking spaces. So with that, we would like to discuss that traffic study, as it did identify impacts of proposed development along this corridor of Old Collinsville Road. There was a recommendation to install a dedicated turn lane to Old Collinsville Road to the Centerfield site, and that proposed use today for SAB Enterprises at 5700 will generate a lower traffic impact than the proposed use in 2022. So the petitioner may elect to stick with the 2022 traffic study and move forward with the installation of a dedicated turn lane, since that was approved by the county, or they can elect to do a new traffic study, and any recommendations must be brought forth to St. Clair County and approved by them, since that is their jurisdiction of Old Collinsville Road. And that is a condition of the planned use recommended by staff. In terms of traffic circulation, internal aisles are designed to reduce the potential for impacts, and to improve on-site circulation, the applicant has proposed routing vehicles to the rear of the building. That would be the eastern part of the building, away from Old Collinsville Road, for student drop-off and pickup. Looking at parking, the proposed site plan does provide 117 spaces, including 5 ADA spaces. City code for indoor fitness and health centers requires 4.5 parking spaces for every 1,000 square foot of gross floor area. This is, per code, a requirement of 106 parking spaces, and the petitioner is meeting that with 117. Parking spaces also meet city code at 10 feet by 19 feet, and there are 24-foot drive aisles provided. Utilities will connect to, the development will connect to the city of O'Fallon, our water system, through an existing 6-inch water line, and sewer service for the site would be provided by Caseyville Township. Ameren is the servicer for electric and gas utilities. Going through drainage real quick, the existing property does not have any engineered stormwater detention as it exists today. This would be a new fully designed detention system, which would be located along the eastern edge of the development, east of the building and parking lot. The basin key elevations for this detention pond, the 100-year high water level is 572.75 feet. The overflow is 573.8 feet, and the top of the berm, which does provide adequate freeboard, is 573.9 feet. So the basin, so this does meet city code and has been reviewed by Public Works and is adequate for the project. Basin outflow is controlled through an existing outlet structure regulating release rates before discharging to the off-site system. Runoff from the parking lots, drive aisles, and the building is routed efficiently towards the detention basin located at the eastern portion of the parking, or eastern portion of the property, excuse me. Inlets are strategically located along the southern and western parking lot edges that intercept surface flow along and drive that along the property line to the detention basin, which does take water away from neighboring parcels. And the grading plan provides positive drainage away from the building and adjacent properties, directing flow to that system. The system also reduces downstream impacts by detaining stormwater on site in the new detention area and releasing at a controlled rate through a multi-stage outlet. And as with all projects, final detention volumes, pipe sizing, outlet capacities, and phase 2 drainage would also be required by the petitioner as part of the final plat and Public Works review as it moves further along in the review process. Landscaping would be required to meet city code. Chapter 157 of our city code states that a detailed landscaping plan will be required with final construction plans. A landscape buffer would be required along that eastern property line that does abut multifamily residential, and that is a condition of the PUD recommended by staff. Photometric plans will be required to meet city code, and all lighting must conform to the foot candle lighting standards of city code. A dumpster enclosure is provided in the northeast corner of the site, and it must be screened by a 6-foot vinyl fence. And future signage will be required to meet city code at the time a sign permit is pulled. There was signage depicted on the building elevation, but that is just for illustration. So once again, quickly going through the site plan, the proposed building is 23,000 square feet. 5,000 of that would be for the swim school. 18,000 square feet would be for the gymnastics center. There are 2 access points for ingress egress, one located along Old Collinsville Road and one located along the shared drive at Centerfield Park. Both of these would require cross-access maintenance agreements, and staff is recommending restricting the access point along Old Collinsville Road to entrance only. The stormwater detention is designed to capture water along the southern and western portions of the lot, drive it away from adjacent parcels to the proposed detention pond, and release at a controlled rate. A landscape buffer would be required on the eastern portion of the property line, and there is a dumpster enclosure located in the northeast portion of the site. In terms of review and approval criteria for the department, this project does conform with the 2040 master plan in terms of promoting the stabilization and expansion of the existing economic base and creation of employment opportunities. Also strengthens the resiliency of the economy through diversification of business sectors. In conformity with zoning code, the proposed use does meet all bulk regulations of the respective zoning for B1 zoning. The general commercial zoning designation is compatible with neighboring general commercial lot land uses, and the commercial design guidelines are met on the proposed building elevations. So with that said, staff ultimately does recommend approval with the following conditions. All recommendations from the 2022 traffic study must be incorporated into the development and into any improvements made along Old Collinsville Road. Alternatively, the petitioner may choose to conduct a new traffic study based on the proposed use of lesser intensity. Any recommended improvements along Old Collinsville Road, whether that be from the 2022 study, which does recommend the installation of a left-hand turn lane, or a new study, must receive approval from St. Clair County. Cross-access agreements and easements for any driveways not located on the subject parcel will be required. The northwest shared access along Old Collinsville Road shall be restricted to entrance-only traffic. A 6-foot vinyl fence and landscaping will be required on the rear property line. A 6-foot vinyl fence will be required for the dumpster enclosure. The hours of operation shall be limited to 10 o'clock p.m. to reduce the impact of lighting and noise to surrounding residential areas, and all lighting must conform to the lighting standards of City Code. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Greg. So the project before us is a youth swim school and gymnastics center, and before we have a discussion, I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All righty. We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments from the committee?
I was just curious, and it doesn't necessarily apply just to them, but that area, it's close to former mine area. Have we tested that property, or is there any concern with mines in that area?
So a significant portion of O'Fallon's undermined by former coal mines. It really is on the risk of the property owner and the developer at the time. If they perform ground studies and discover undermining, and it's their choice whether or not they want to remediate those mines. Typically for a single-story construction, that's not something that's pursued.
I guess the reason I asked that football field, not too far, but the weight of a pool.
Sure.
Is what made me
Yeah,
think.
so the mine in Wood River, or Alton, I believe it was, is a completely different mine. It's a active mine that was much higher, closer to the surface. So, yep.
Any other questions from the committee? Any questions from the council? Any questions from the public? All right, seeing none, we will take a vote. Please, roll call.
Parchman?
Yes.
Rosenberg?
Affirmative?
Roach?
Yes.
Lotz?
Yes.
And Campbell?
Yes.
Thank you.
All righty. That will go before the city council at our next meeting on December 15th, and then it'll come back to this committee for a second reading on January 12th, and we'll go to the full council for final reading on January 20th. All righty. Next, we have a community development update. We like to provide these once a month. These are all projects that have been approved by the city council previously, but we don't like them to go into the development oblivion, so we provide an update once a month on where we're at.
Thank you. I'm going to kind of do this as a year-end review, so all of this data does end through the month of November. It does not include any data from December. But for the month of November, the Community Development Department did issue 66 building permits with a construction value of $19.8 million. This included 8 new multifamily units on Lakeside Drive, and Spring Hill Suites was issued their building permit with a cost of construction at $14 million. For the month of November, the department completed 187 occupancy inspections, 644 building inspections, and 410 code enforcement actions were administered by staff, and it took an average of 14.9 days to abate complaints throughout the month of November. Looking at a 2025 summary of January through November, we did issue 915 building permits, totaling a total cost of construction at around $137.4 million. We also completed 2,652 occupancy inspections from January to November. We received from the public 1,064 code enforcement complaints, and the average days to issue a building permit took 8.8 days for new commercial projects and 9.8 days for new residential projects. In terms of planned uses, the Community Development Department presented on 12 planned uses throughout the year: Park Place, Bethel Grove Subdivision, Q Storage, Global Brew Video Gaming, Old Collinsville Road Commercial Building and Retail Building, Full Circle Auto Services, Aloha Pools, U-Haul Moving and Storage Center, Zap Tie obtaining a liquor license, Club Fitness sign amendment, Gateway Elite Gymnastics, and tomorrow we will present on the Shops at Pierce. We did have one zoning officer hearing on July 22nd, 2025. To provide some quick construction updates, footings are being installed at Spring Hill Suites. The buildings, steel is being installed at the medical office building and the acute surgery treatment center. In terms of the hospital additions to the ER and the 5th floor, work is being done on existing water lines. Artisan Gardens, the buildings 2 through 4 continued to go up at a really quick pace. We also received a pool permit application for them to start building their pool. Framing is underway for Home 2 Suites along Regency Park. A building permit has been issued for Old Base Factory. The building addition on Greenmount at Greenmount Harley-Davidson is nearing completion. Q Storage is installing footings, and Olson Orthodontics across the street is continuing demolition work. Some miscellaneous projects that we haven't really discussed, as they did not need to come through Planning Commission or committee, is the Bellow building expansion. The building shell is complete, and they're looking to fill tenants into that space. Marcus Theaters is doing mine remediation and interior repairs to the building. First Watch did complete a patio canopy addition, which is being inspected. Walmart is currently conducting a LED parking lot lighting upgrade. 400 South Lincoln, right down the street, is doing a complete remodel of the building, and there is an interior remodel of Club Fitness. And then our next meeting for Planning Commission will be held here tomorrow night at 6:00 p.m. The Shops at Pierce are looking to amend their planned use, which did go through City Council approval in June of 2023 for 5 outlots. They are looking to amend that to 4 outlots, and we will present on that tomorrow.
All righty, thank you for those updates. We will move on to item 4.1, which is public comments. Does anybody from the public have any comments they'd like to make before the committee? Yes, sir.
Ron Selms, Ward 6. Kind of piggybacks on with what Councilman Rosenberg said about the St. Allen mine area. I just noticed that Marcus says mine remediation. So is there subsidence problems out in that area? Active issues. The other thing, I think this has occurred within the last year. I think at one time it was talked about maybe there were some nibbles at Southview Plaza. I don't know if the city is ready to make any comment about any possible bites on that land that's been almost a decade old now. And the other thing that comes to mind, every time I go to Schnucks, I always look at the building across the street that was supposed to be like a doggy daycare and everything else. That sits vacant. Is there anything happening there? Thanks.
I'll defer to staff on those.
Are you aware of that?
Yeah. So I'd rather not comment on the doggy daycare at this time. The Marcus Theaters, yes, they are doing some subsidence remediation. They did have some sinking or some settling on the portion of their building. Our code enforcement and building inspection division worked with them tirelessly. It's been a long road for them to get the drawings and the engineers and to find somebody that can do it. And so they'll be moving along here pretty soon. I think everybody's kind of heard in the past there has been other subsidence issues. Some areas over by Deerbergs and Shiloh had some subsidence. There was a couple, there was one on Lawn. So over time, yes, there has been issues of mine subsidence in O'Fallon as well as many other places in this area. And then Southview, I've got nothing to report. Yep.
All righty, any other public comments? No, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All righty, meeting is adjourned.